Okay, YouTube, as promised, I am going to do my light video. These 3 samples of lights is just what I had lying around that weren't mounted on weapons. They're all Surefires. I only own Surefires, oddly enough. I plan on getting, actually for Father's Day, my dad the Travis Haley Enforce 200 lumen momentary only weapon light. I haven't gotten it yet. I will probably, hopefully, do a review on it when I get it. It's a very interesting light and concept of a light, and for the price point, you know, it might convert me from my beloved Surefires that have never failed me. So we'll see. But anyways, I'm gonna describe technology behind the lights, use of lights, types of lights, train of thought of different trainers and armed professionals have on lights, and I'll discuss what I like, don't like, what I agree and don't agree with. So like I said, these are all Surefires, and I like Surefires because they're extremely durable. They're all metal construction. This one actually right here, you can see, I'll try and get a close-up. You can see it's been beat to fucking hell. It's been painted several times and the paint's been worn off. I've actually used this one on 3 of my deployments, and it's a beast. I've jumped it out of airplanes. I've rolled down hills and mountains with it. It's been banged up in trucks, knocked against walls, just short of being shot or actually being hit with shrapnel. Anything you can think of, this light has incurred, and it works like a champ. You put fresh batteries in it and it goes. And this is a 200 lumen Surefire Scout, and it is just a beast of a light. And I can't say anything bad about it, to be honest. It has just served me excellently with my time with it, and it really converted me to Surefire products. There's Scout series. You can buy them with incandescent conversions, but they come standard with LED, and they make I think like 2 or 3 different output levels for them. They have like 150, 175, and like a 200. This one's a 200 one, and the beam spread is different on each and every one of them. I don't want to go into too much detail because I could probably spend an hour just talking about lights, the technology of lights, the nomenclature of lights, and all that stuff. I just want to give a brief overview of what I think about lights and what I like and don't like about lights, and what, like I said, I agree or don't agree with other people's you know, opinions on lights. First of all, I don't own a light. I don't own a really bright light that's past 200 lumens. I don't own one. I never had a need for one. I've seen them used, and you know, I'm scared to get one and try one out, to be honest, because first of all, I'm thinking it's just a waste of money, and number 2, I think that it's actually going to hurt me more than it will help me, especially for the purpose that I have for my lights. You hear a lot of people, they're screaming, you know, 500 lumens, 1,000 lumens, 10,000 lumens. You know, what some people will do is that they'll get aftermarket conversions for the bulbs and the heads to make them brighter, 300, 400, 500 lumens, whatever. Different companies out there make conversions. You know, I don't like that because, for one, you're messing around with factory parts, you know, that could affect reliability. Number 2, probably more importantly, is you're draining your battery life. When you do some sort of conversion or aftermarket conversion on your LED light to make it brighter, you're going to drain battery, and it's going to drain it significantly faster. So, you know, some guys, you know, that are operational, they may not get the opportunity to change out their batteries as much, or maybe batteries are scarce for whatever reason. You know, supply lines do break down even in modern day age, but generally you want a longer battery life, and that's for almost everything in life, you know, from, you know, iPods to fucking TAC lights. So I don't really like to go that route, and it kind of becomes a thing of what you use your light for, and it's all going to be situationally dependent. But for me, talking from a combat, military / special operations role, but not really because everybody has nods, is that you really don't need a bright light. Because 1, I don't need a super bright, super focused beam that can shoot out for 300 meters. Why? Because if I want to see something 300 meters away, I'm going to be using my nods or thermals to see it. I'm not going to silhouette myself and give away my position and my whole element by clicking on a light that can see 300 meters away. That's just dumb. There's no need for it. Now, obviously, if you're a police officer, you're not issued nods and you got to, you're doing some sort of search or whatever and you got to scan something that's 100, 200 meters away, then I can see the usefulness in it. I really can. But on the flip side, TAC lights developed so you could shoot low light in close quarter distances. Do you really need 500 lumens? And will 500 lumens help you or hurt you? I can't wrap my head around 500 lumens. Like it kind of, it kind of just floods my mind. I just can't think straight. I'm like, who would need that much? Because when I see these lights, there's the dispersion of the light, the intensity of the light. It just seems too much for me. If you go into a room and it has white walls with a bunch of mirrors, and you got this 500 lumen light, I mean, who's to say you're not going to affect your vision or somebody else's on your teams or element, whatever, their vision? You could. And they will blind you. Yeah, they can blind the enemy, but that's not the primary focus of a light. It was not designed to blind the enemy. You're not trying, I don't have a light on my gun to blind the enemy. If it so happens to blind the enemy because I shine it in his eyes, then great. That's a force multiplier for me, I guess. But the primary focus of a light is to effectively illuminate the target or the area I'm looking at so I can effectively engage or see. I'm not there to blind. And 500 lumens, I think, can be counterconductive to that because you start to wash out what you're looking at. When it's so bright, all you see is a fucking LED fireball of light, then you can't tell. Who's to tell if you're pointing at somebody, if you're trying to determine if they're a combatant or non-combatant, what the fuck they have on their body? You can't, because that light can sometimes wash it out. And I hear people, and the test, people say, well, we got lots of experience. We've been running them in classes and all these trainers. And I'm like, well, the testing's kind of rigged. Sit under nods or no nods for like hours and hours on end and then click on, a 500 lumen flashlight right in front of your face and then tell me how your body reacts. But people don't test them. I mean, some do, but the majority of people that are behind these high-end, high-output lights, they probably don't test them how they would actually be used in a real-life tactical situation. And I don't agree with it. I only personally need 200 lumens. I think 200 lumens is fine. Because especially with, I'm not sure of the nomenclature of the head, but it's a 200 lumen scout light, and I like it. I think the dispersion of the light is great. It's not too focused. It has a good flood effect on it. It allows me to see clearly and my eyes need little adjustment. I can go from total darkness to turn on my light, and it won't fuck with my eyes or my head. Or I can be looking under nods for like 3 or 4 hours straight and then have to go nods up and click on my light, and it won't mess with me. Now, with that said, I haven't personally tested 500 lumens, and I know that it's going to affect your eyes, or it's going to affect people's eyes that is on your team. It is. I mean, that's just the reality of it. That brightness. I mean, it's like one of those things. You spend like 3 years, under the earth, and you come up to see the sun the first time and people go blind. Well, it's going to happen on a smaller scale with these high output lights if you're going from pitch black to super brightness, and especially if you have white walls that are just going to amplify that light. Or if you have a bunch of reflective stuff in that room or wherever you're at, it's only going to amplify it. So I don't see a need for 500 lumen lights. I think these lights are 200 lumens is more than sufficient to do any sort of military job. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, if you're a cop and you got to scan outside and you don't have IR or thermal equipment, and you got to have a light that can shoot far, then yeah, that's a legitimate need. But I don't see a need for these 500 lumen lights, especially on a pistol light. Because your pistol, we're talking about close quarters engagement on average. Obviously, cops sometimes have to use it to fight long because that's all they have, but my regular 170 or 175 lumen Surefire X300 is perfectly capable of getting the job done for me, and I don't see any real advantage of going to the 500 lumen Surefire X300 uniform just because I'm getting an extra 200 lumens or whatever. I don't see the added value. I don't see the need to replace it, especially when you got to replace all your holsters because the head is bigger. different size. So, and then the other thing I want to talk about on lights is these are now starting to become standard issue lights for a lot of units now. Is these we call them dual heads or vampire heads. They go from white to IR. On an entry gun, a CQB gun, you know, a short barreled carbine, whatever you want to call it, I don't believe in these because I always run IR lasers on mine, and they usually have an IR flood lamp, and I don't need two sources of IR light, you know, for what I do for a short range carbine. I only need one, and my IR illuminator flood lamp that's on that laser fills that role perfectly for me. Now I will say this, on a gun that does not have a IR flood lamp ability from a, you know, PEC 2, PEC 15, LE5, whatever, or it's a gun that's to be used for greater distances, I guess, then I do see some very good usefulness of the higher output flashlights that have the IR heads on them, because this IR head is going to be more powerful than a PEC 2 or LE5's flood lamp. So, you know, if I'm under nods and I need to illuminate something to see it better, you know, 100, 200, 300 meters away, this is going to be a better tool for the job, because shit, after 50 meters, 100 meters, you're not seeing your IR flood lamp from most of your IR lasers. So this is significantly better IR output for a flood lamp. So it will help you. And like I said, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, because, you know, generally your enemy doesn't have nods. Now, if you know generally your enemy does have nods, then you might not want to use that for the same reason you might not want to use a visible light outdoors, you know, to give away your position, silhouette yourself, etc., etc. But generally, you know, we're fighting in third world countries where the enemy doesn't have nods, or they don't have a lot of nods, because, you know, either they get them cheap, black market, or they're stolen or whatever. So you're generally safe using this. And you can tell, you know, if you're in a tactical situation, your enemy has nods or IR equipment, you can tell fairly fast if they have it. You know, it's not like you're going to know and not know. If they're there, you're going to know if they have it or not, because, you know, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. So this is just my philosophy on lights. You know, like I said, I don't have a need, and if you're in the military and you think you have a need to be able to use a Viz light 300 meters away, you're fucking wrong. Wrong as two boys kissing in church, because there's no need for it. That's why you have nods. We have nods so we can look at the enemy without giving away our position, without having to use giant searchlights on the end of our weapons. You know, so that's my philosophy, and I would like to hear specifically from maybe guys that have ran these 500 lumen lights overseas. Now I know they kind of came out after Iraq was really, you know, going on, so we're primarily talking about Afghanistan here, which, you know, how many people today are really doing mount in Afghanistan? Not a whole lot. I mean, you might clear compounds, but, you know, you're not kicking in doors. Shit, there ain't even that many doors to kick in. Fucking shit's made out of mud. So I'd like to hear, you know, guys that have ran them and see, you know, what they like, didn't like. If I'm completely off page here, but that's just my thought on running these high output lights. You know, I like a mid-range output light. So, you know, like always, comments, questions, welcome. Hopefully, I'd like to do a nighttime shoot and compare some lights. So let me know what you guys think.